Hi, I was just going to talk to you why we must all become digital citizens. And my name is Steve Altman, so let's kind of look through this and get started here. What is digital citizenship? Digital, digital citizenship is uh, refers to the responsible use of technology by anyone who uses computers, the internet, and digital devices to engage in society on any level. And some of the 5 points that I came out of some of these things that I thought were important was the empathy, internet and user data, digital literacy and wellness, digital divide, and securing devices. So empathy is just making sure you're not being mean, hurtful, rude. You kind of sit back and think about other people and as you go about doing your doing whatever you do on the internet or online in that case, and how and what the internet is and what that means to have user data. So like, what's it mean to take and do different things, different ways, and with the internet, and then even having the data that you have or don't have to help support some of those things. Um, Digital literacy and wellness. Literacy to me is like making sure what you're reading is new and correct. You're not getting fake news or finding stuff on Wikipedia because a lot of times that can be just edited and changed. Make sure you find educational or accredited sites to help make sure you're getting correct information and stuff. And so, in wellness, making sure you have a good balance of the use of technology and the lack of technology, or whatever the case is. So, that way you're not just always online and only have peer groups that are all based off of online relationships, but having some actual well balanced life for you, not just doing some things one way and some ways the other way. Digital divide, just kind of understanding that there's a huge digital gap between some places and some people. Not everyone has the same access to stuff. And then securing devices and making sure that you're using things properly and correctly as you go about going through and doing and using things like that in the school or even in life. Digital citizenship is a life thing. Um, Trying to get to the next slide here. So in schools, what they have is an ERate, which this is something I didn't know anything about, but it's a federal program to help with technology, hardwares, and internet access for all sorts of kids, all sorts of things. So it's a federal program that gives a lot of monies to schools to allow that stuff. But to do those things, you have to have three things. You have to have a plan of how you're going to do it, what you want to implement, and how you're going to implement it for students learning, and then you have to show documentation of how you're providing a safe a reliable access to internet that is not going to be tampered with or messed with for students. So um, I think that's an important thing to know about because I had no idea what an E-rate was before we started talking about all of this stuff. So in the school setting, digital citizenship and E-rates are so closely related that's going to be very difficult to not talk about them both. So some of the regulations that the E-rates talk about are having to limit student access to sites so they're not looking at harmful materials for kids. They have to provide guidelines on how they're supposed to use this stuff and not use this stuff, or technology or internet access that is. And then you have to provide an online safety education, and we'll get to that later on and how you're supposed to educate kids. But a lot of the stuff that talks about educating kids are also great policies and things that students and staff and teachers and every adult should think about as they use technology as well. E-rate compliance, some of the compliance that's needed for E-rate stuff uh, is that you have to be able to have a filtered internet site, a filtered internet to keep kids from harmful materials like we just talked about earlier. And then you have to be compliant and have safety, internet safety. You have to teach students about internet safety throughout the school year. That way, and you have to have documentation of that because that way it shows that the kids are becoming proper digital citizens as well. So that's important. Some more understanding on it because it was something that I really didn't understand is that you get more money if you are able to complete all of the guidelines that they ask for, and you have to have records of it, and you have to show that you're being able to provide them with good digital citizenship. So this is important because uh, technology and running high speed and faster internet for YouTube uses or even like Zoom meetings and those type of things that are new 2020 technology and educational learning has just evolved into all takes a lot of types of bandwidth and a lot of those things that cost money and it's important to be able to have that those opportunities and stuff for students. So you've got to keep up on top of the funding because stuff is not cheap in that world of technology. Reasons that we need to be teaching digital citizenship. Let's move that box out of the way a little bit. Is information literacy. So kids are able to always, hey, let's just go Google that. That's exactly what that's talking about. Cyberbullying prevention. That's why you want to teach them to how to have empathy when they're online, um, and how to safely navigate. Don't tell some somebody else about who you are or where you live if you don't know who they are. Being digitally responsible so they're not just going through materials and downloading and saving things that just make hard drives and servers just overload because again those are all expensive things and we want to take care of as much space in Google Drive or whatever that you have that for kids to use, and finding that balance again of health and emotional wellness in the digital world and in the real world, not just emotionally or digitally but also in person face-to-face stuff with people. So those are all reasons why we need to be teaching digital leadership, digital citizenship. I mean, to kids and even to adults, because there's sometimes that adults struggle with these things as well. There are some curriculums out there already, and one of the curriculums that we talked about is already working in California, and this is what they're doing in LA. It says that they have 6 main themes for teaching and learning, and what they do is they talk about that media balance and the well-being of being outside and finding real people and having those proper communications. Again, that privacy and security part is going to be a real consistent theme as well. That we're going to talk about their digital footprint and identity. These are all things that are being taught to kids in Los Angeles County schools right now. And they have a whole curriculum based of it online, which is awesome stuff. So if we ever get a chance, we need to really look through those things and try to see how we can help justify and ratify some of those things for our schools as well. Relationship and communication, how you're supposed to talk to people, what kind of things you can say to people, kind of grammar and punctuation are typically okay online right now. That's all stuff that's different, and how you can avoid some cyberbullying, hate speech, and digital drama. Some of that digital drama is like someone says something about something and it just snowballs because of drama and chatty things, and how to be news and media literate. Knowing what is fake news, what is good news, how you find the right sources, what do you do for the right things. Those are all things that are also very, very important in curriculum that you're able to teach kids and why. The next couple of slides here had some really cool. These are another website. This one is all done by Common Sense Education. Oh, sorry, we're going a little fast there. So the Common Sense Education talks about having some of those same themes: the privacy and security, digital footprint and reputation. I like this part. This was something that I thought was a little different and was a good thing to discuss was creative credit and copyright. Lots of kids don't understand that just because they find it on the internet doesn't mean they have to give someone else credit because they're like, I found it. Why do I need to share it with someone else? And they don't understand that, and yet we're getting them in trouble for copyright or plagiarism. So those are all things that we need to be considerate of and how to teach kids about. And it can be like this curriculum starts kindergarten to 12th grade, so it can be any grade, anytime. Just make sure you're really trying to push and help kids develop some of those positive digital things. And so another part, this was a cool. Everybody's got acronyms in education, so here comes another couple of them, right? The REP digital citizenship, respect, educating, and protecting. So etiquette, access, and law. So how can you be proper and empathetic online? Is etiquette is a real big part of that. Access. Do you have access like everybody else? Oh, you don't. So you better make sure you're not um, broadcasting the fact that you were on Twitter or TikTok all night long or something. And then the law, make sure you understand what you can and can't say and do online because you still get in trouble for those types of things. So this is important stuff that we need to be teaching kids as well. This goes to educating that literacy, communication, and commerce. How can you spend money? PayPal is a huge thing. Apple phones now have Apple Pay or Apple Wallet, all those things. And if they don't understand how that works or how it spends money, they can end up blowing through money. I know there's been a couple of kids on the news that bought their own Christmas presents on mom and dad's Amazon account because it was just a one click thing on their Amazon account, and boom, next thing you know, they've got all sorts of new Christmas toys and big bills on grandma or mom and dad's credit cards. So if we teach kids those things, it'll make it a little bit easier. The P is for protecting themselves, and so you have the rights and responsibilities of what they can and can't say. Cyberbullying and those type of things are all important, so you need to talk about them. So there's lots of different ways that we can teach kids about this, And here's another acronym one. It's called READY. Uh, Remind students of how to be mindful and know what information and opinions they make in public are going to be there forever. Those things don't ever disappear. So uh, make sure they understand all of that. Encourage them to step away from their phones, which goes back to that wellness and healthy well-being, and not just being totally immersed online all the time. Accountability, so they know what they're doing is is their things, and what they create or what their people are going to see them for, what they're going to see them as. A good example is I'm not, I don't know, everyone I think probably does it. You hear about somebody's name, or you find, or you meet somebody new, and you kind of get on Facebook or LinkedIn or something, and you try to find somebody, find a little more out about them, because most people have profiles in those regards. So you get on there and you kind of try to snoop around and see a little bit more about them to see if they fit, your friend roles, or what you think would be good friends. You do that with lots of people on all the social media devices already. So those type of things that you put out there stick around forever, and kids need to understand that as well. But the last one down there I thought was a big one. The whys. Say yes when it comes to launching digital tools. So instead of just being blocking and keeping kids away from unrestricted things like YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, teach them how to use those properly so that they can be tools for education rather than for just all pleasure and no actual educational growth or use for them, because they can be real positive. Like a great example, this recording is going to turn around and be put on YouTube. We couldn't have done that if I didn't know how to use YouTube. So someone had to teach me how to do all this. Why can't we teach kids how to do these things? The school that I work with, our school currently has this as their student technology um, guidelines, and I think it's pretty wordy and pretty long. We do a lot on the Google Drive, and we use a lot of Google software and Google Gmail accounts and things like that, which is nice because it streamlines some things. But as you can see, they put a lot more restrictions on things like this part right here that talks about getting into other folders or work files. Let me go back there. Getting into other work folders or files, that is a big no-no in our school, and there's ways you can protect those things. So I think this stuff needs to be really looked at hard with us guys, and so we can try to revamp them and come up with things that more um, accommodating for students' needs. And there's nothing in here that talks about teaching them how to use things the right way. This talks a lot about things that they shouldn't be doing or how that you're not supposed to do. So I think that's something that needs to change as well. Um, I don't think it's a great technology guidelines or supports for kids, but we'll continue to work and grow on them. So and I could never find anything that talked about any of our E-rate numbers or our guidelines for E-rate stuff. So as a first-time principal there, I'm going to really look at trying to figure that out, because having some extra funding and teaching digital citizenship is going to be huge things that we do at our school. So thank you for your time, guys, and have a great night.